I want to thank Father Deborah and the Board of Prep Administration for hosting us this today. I want to also thank the class committee for granting me the honor and the privilege of addressing them. I also want to thank the university for hosting us in such a magnificent and sacred space. I'm still overwhelmed by its beauty. When I thought about what I could say today, the first thing that came to my mind was the Prep's academic excellence and its Ignatian tradition. These are the two pillars of the Prep that are as true today as it was at the Prep's time. Today, however, I would like to address my remarks to three other characteristics that I believe are not only true for me, but also for most of our class. First, Fordham Prep was the beginning of a brand new world for most of our class. A world vastly different than the world we grew up in. Because entering the Prep meant that we were going to attend college. This, in and of itself, meant that we would have a new and exciting future with many more opportunities than our parents and grandparents. Wherever our paths would take us, be it college, graduate school, Ludwig Law School, or medical school, it all began in Prep. And the Prep prepared us well for that journey. Second, Fordham Prep was a tough place. There were no awards for participation. You either succeeded or you didn't. I'm sure that all of you remember what was said at that first freshman assembly. Gentlemen, look right, look left, because at the end of the year, one of you will not be here. Realistically, it was 1 out of 6 that would not finish freshman year. But that ratio would not have had the same chilling effect on 13. But out of that culture of academic excellence, discipline, and Ignatian tradition, we became men with a certain quality. Some call it grit. I prefer the term resilience. To use a baseball analogy, we learned at a very young age that life was not all fastballs down there. There would be many curveballs, sliders, and even the occasional low. Fordham Prep prepares to hit those pitches too. My final point is that through all this, we bond. And in that vein, I would like to share with you a very personal story. Almost 10 years ago to the day, I was admitted to Sloan Kettering Hospital in New York. The admitting nurse suggested my wife bring some pictures to remind me of why I was going through the course. Because we all knew the summertime's ahead when we grew up. Before I could utter a suggestion to my wife, she said that she knew exactly what I needed. And the next day she brought in 3 pictures, unfolded. She asked me how I did it, and I said, perfect. Over the next 5 weeks, new nurses and new doctors Thank you